Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk to you about something that I think it's worth mentioning because it's an event that touches on something that I've talked to you about in the past. So let's get into it. Now, what am I talking about? Well, something that I've been trying to claim for a while now is the importance of actually learning, like having the mindset that you learn the things that are relevant for professional grade software development. And I've said to, like, for those of you who are juniors out there, to actually really think about your first job and making sure that you're actually going down a path where you are learning the things that are relevant for most of the industry, as opposed to learning one specific tool. Now, the reason for that is pretty much that if you go down the route of learning one specific tool, and if that tool isn't really in line with what most of the industry is using, you might find yourself in a little bit of a pickle. So the reason why I want to talk to you about it is that the other day I was asked by my manager to review a code test. So I went over to his desk and I had a look. And the testing question was a test that I have taken myself, and it's the test that we give to, like, it's a standard test for some basic backend work. It's given to juniors as well, so we have people who are fresh out of college who take this test and pass it. And the basics of the test is that you are to you're going to create a model for certain entities, and then you're going to do some basic filtering based on those entities. So in essence, it's about creating a database model that fits a certain domain entity. Now, the person who had sent in this code test had, apart from not actually creating a model for anything, had created a React application. And when I first saw this, I was very confused because I could clearly see. It showed. There was code, and there was an attempt to display information using using React in this case, but it wasn't really, like, they hadn't really created a model at all. They had created a graphical interface of some sort instead of actually creating the thing that was requested. So I was a bit confused by this, I'm going to admit. So I asked my manager if because I said I'm thinking maybe this person is very, very junior. And he goes, no, actually not. This person has a fairly senior profile, actually. And I go to this person's LinkedIn account, and I see that this person has been working for I think 7 something years, which makes it even odder because the request in this code test is, well, for anybody who's working as a this is like the bare bone basic stuff of learning how to persist something to a database. If you don't know how to do this properly, you will not be able to use databases in essence, which makes this even more confusing. So I have a look at, like, the previous occupations that he's had, like the previous jobs and so forth, and he had primarily been working with, almost exclusively, he lists Drupal and jQuery, and that gives me a little bit of a warning flag. Because it's a bit of a warning flag, because Drupal is one of those tools that I would warn you about. It's not a bad tool. WordPress is not a bad tool either, and so forth. But this is the sort of tool that abstracts away quite a bit of the actual work that goes into just generic programming. And the danger of this is that it's very likely that if you go down the route of being masters of this, is that the fact of the matter is that you're likely going to learn how to use that tool, but you might not actually learn how to do actual programming. It's the same sort of risk you would run if you become a master of, say, I don't know, serverless, like Firebase or something like that, where you learn the abstraction, you learn you learn that part, but you don't actually learn how to write software just in general. So I tell my manager that, all right, the only thing apart from the only thing I can really consider here, or the only thing I can assume, is that he has tried to impress us somehow. Because that's a classic mistake as well, where, or you think that, as in a code test, you try to write sophisticated code, or you try to prove that you know something to the people that are going to read it. And this is just personal experience. Usually, that I will say that's usually not required, and in this case, it's actually probably cost this person a position at the company. So I say to my manager that I don't know what to say. I mean, I want to give this person a chance. So if I were you, I would call them up and have a follow-up interview or something to ask them about their code test and see if they can elaborate on why they made these decisions, and then take it from there. But from what I can see, this person, either there's a misunderstanding here, or this person doesn't actually know how to write software. That's the only thing I can think of. And my manager goes, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm thinking as well. So we might have a follow-up discussion about this, and if he has satisfying answers as to why he did this, because I mean, had this been a story, we would have to redo the whole thing. I mean, we wouldn't be able to ship this. And that's what I want to talk to you about, or rather, that's the thing I want you to take away from this, guys. There's no way for us to know this. I mean, the person I would ask wouldn't even admit that. So I would have to be in the follow-up meeting to kind of figure out if this is just a misunderstanding or if it is what I suspect it is. And the suspicion I have is, as I said, that the person in question is a master of Drupal or master of a very niched way of programming. And now they're trying to break it, like just go into some other form of programming, like just the generic stuff, something that's more higher level. And they can't, because they don't actually know how to write software correctly. They know how to use, in this case, Drupal. So I want you to really think about that when you're progressing through your career, because this is a fairly scary thing for somebody who has worked for that long, to wake up one day and realize that, I spent all of my career learning this one specific way of working. Now I want to do something else, but I can't really get hired because I have the years of a senior programmer, but I don't actually have the skills. And that is something that's a place you don't want to be. So be a little bit careful about that. And remember, it's not about learning one specific tool if you want to have a long career in programming. It is about learning programming, like the underlying mechanics of how programming actually works. Because trust me when I say this, unless you specifically look for jobs that are always leveraging the tools that you like, you're likely going to have to just adopt new tools. And without understanding the basics of fundamentals of programming, you will have a very hard time getting that job. But if you know this stuff, it's going to be fairly straightforward for you. Have a great day.